How to speed up your delivery if your development and production is in the Far East. In this video, you're going to learn some ideas and tips on how to speed up your production if you do choose to produce in the Far East, and then the benefits of then would be a smoother process, a smoother development and production process. Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm a fashion product developer. I have 17 years fashion industry experience. I've worked for and alongside some very well-known brands, from design right through to delivery, wholesale and retail, and everything in between. So I'm widely experienced to help you. I run a fashion consultancy helping up and coming and established brands to create more sales through client profile and brand protection. I also help undergraduates and graduate students to give them the confidence to know what they want to do once in the industry, and explaining all about the industry and what to expect. So let's talk fashion. How to speed up production. There are a few things that I would do to speed up production in the Far East. If your chosen part of the world is that you want to produce in the Far East, which is excellent, you do need to consider the lead times, because they are of course much longer, especially if you ship all your units as opposed to flying in all your units, which again has a different price point. You have chosen the Far East, you know all these importing and exporting costs now by breaking down all of this information on your costing sheets to make sure that you have a reasonable enough margin and profit within your garment. So let's say you've done that and you have understood your critical path in regards to lead time. You can actually have a look at ways to speed up production, and that would be the more planning and development that you can do in the front end of the season, the better it will be in the long term, the better it will be for you at the back end of the season when you are ready to approve, seal and get it all into production. What I mean by that is, at the front end of the season, if you can start researching and planning your season ahead before the cut-off of the previous season, that would be really beneficial for you. You know, you'll very often know from past seasons what you want to carry forward. You will have an idea of what perhaps you didn't want to put into this range versus what you want to try out for next range. So there's those ideas. There's the ideas of the entry price point ranges, the commercial ranges, where you'll have a staple fabric or a staple yarn. There's that section. And then of course, there is some research on screens. So first of all, you can have a look at what you decided upon. Have a look at the styles that you decided upon last season. There's always going to be styles that you thought to yourself, I won't put it in this season, I'll put it in next season. There will always be those pieces. So you can start developing those pieces. You can start sampling with the factory. Sometimes you may have even, half gone to development stages, but not actually sealed it. Get all of those styles sealed so they are ready for pre-production samples. You can also have a look at the yarns that you can forward buy and have a look at the fabrics that you can forward buy. You can buy bulk yarns and bulk fabrics with the factory, and they will, obviously keep them for you, and they will sample with them. They will develop with that bulk buy, and they will also then use that to produce into production. When you are running bestsellers, or when you are running your bread and butter styles, you'll always use that particular yarn, and if the yarn is changed at all, it will alter everything. So if you're doing great sales behind a particular blend of yarn or fabric, then for a few seasons it's advisable to keep that anyway, so you can build upon the volume, the units that you will need to order. So there is forecasting fabrics and forecasting yarns and bulk buying, so they're already there. Really go into developing your styles before the season, because that way, if you get the factories to sample in some pieces for you, then you're ahead of the game, and you can get your ceiling sample in and it's already fit, it's already made. There's a lot of time spent on fits and back and forth in that process, and it does take up a lot of the development stages. You can prepare your colours ahead of the season. You can refer back to historical palettes, and you can use your commercial colours from that. If it was an approved swatch on a yarn, on a yarn that you're using again for this season, you can just take that reference and send it to the factory. As long as it's the same factory that did those dips, they can just send you a final dip for approval, and you've skipped all of that development stage. You can go into your prints. You can get lots of print suppliers around to visit you and to show you their portfolios on what's coming through the season. Or you can also, go around all the exhibitions and have a look what trends are happening with surface manipulation and surface of fabrics. You can go and have a look at all of the exhibitions and the shows and gather everything what you want, and you can send those off to the factory to have a look at those. You can then open screens and do some print sampling, approve the print sampling, whether it be just the design, the shape and the colour, and then you've got that screen approved, ready for production. If you are developing prints with the factory and you've sourced them from a print supplier, you have to make sure you change them, and it's only an inspiration from the print supplier, unless you buy the hanger, and then of course you can send the hanger directly to the factory and they can replicate. Or you can go direct to source and get some costings there. So there are ways that you can actually speed up production if you are in advance and ahead of the game, which always helps. You can make sure that your packaging is ready ahead of the season. You can make sure your branding is signed off. You can make sure your embroideries, your back neck labels, you can actually do all of this at the head of the season. And then, in the season, it's basically the new styles and the high fashion pieces that you are developing on. Especially if it's wholesale, do try and do a lot of your development way in advance, or even be very conscious of previous seasons and what you're actually developing, and think outside the box and whether it would be good for a following season. Sometimes styles don't work in that very season because they're perhaps too high fashion or too ahead of the game, or they're pushing too many boundaries. So you could always reinvent that style and bring it into the next season, the following season, or the current season if you're looking backwards. But if you are utilizing anything from previous seasons, whether they be colors, developed dips already, or you are reinventing a style that's already had half the process behind it, this will fall into your sustainability message if that is within your brand and marketing. Another way to speed up production is build good relationships with your factories. Communicate well and always be polite and respectful. I hope this helps. If you would like to know a little bit more about me or any of my services, please head to my bio where you'll see my Stan Store. Go into my Stan Store and you can book a free call. We can jump on a call together and talk about any challenges or pressure points that you have in your collection, in your brand, or you can talk to me about any areas that you want to understand, and we can talk about how I can help you. Until the next video, thank you very much for listening. Bye bye for now.